Prehistory. The engineers seed life on Earth, Prometheus. Eons ago, most likely around 3.5 to 4 billion years ago by inference from Earth's own biogenesis, a mysterious race known as the Engineers visited primordial Earth. In a brutal act of creation, an engineer sacrificed himself, disintegrating his body to seed the planet with the building blocks of life. Humanity itself was born from this alien intervention. For millennia, the engineers watched their creation from afar, leaving clues of their existence in ancient art and temples. The same star pattern appears in an Upper Paleolithic cave painting on the Isle of Skye dated to roughly 35,000 years ago, then resurfaces in Mesopotamian material, 3,300 to 2000 BCE, Egyptian iterations, 1,500 to 1000 BCE, and a Mesoamerican example, 600 to 700 CE. Crucially, that map does not point to their homeworld, but to LV-223 in the Zeta II Reticuli system, about 39 light-years from Earth, a military bioweapons outpost. These clues lay dormant, waiting for us to uncover them. Some lore hints that the engineers later grew displeased with their creation. Evidence on LV-223 indicates they planned to strike on humanity roughly 2,000 years before the year 2093. Mummified bodies and holograms show a panicked evacuation around 100 to 200 CE, suggesting a containment breach of their own black accelerant halted the mission before it launched. Millennia later, Shaw and Holloway matched the sky mural to the cross-cultural star maps. The Prometheus expedition lands on LV-223 and confirms it's a weapons facility, not a sanctuary. And that opening sacrificial sequence? It remains the only on-screen glimpse of anything set before the 21st century in the mainline Alien films. You may be wondering, didn't xenomorphs show up on Earth long before 2122 in some stories? Yes, in the Alien vs. Predator crossover films they did. However, these films are not part of the official canon of the main Alien timeline. The AVP films exist in their own separate continuity. They're fun what-if scenarios, and indeed, the Predator franchise can include them without issues, but the crossover love only tends to go in one direction. Circa 3000 BC. Long before recorded history, Earth's ancient civilizations hosted deadly visitors from the stars. A scene from Aliens vs. Predators, 2004, reveals that it was the Predators that taught humans how to build pyramids, becoming worshipped as gods in the process. Pyramids weren't just monuments, they were arenas, where young warriors would prove themselves or die. And the Predators' gifts to humankind came at a cost. They demanded human sacrifices, using them to breed xenomorphs for the hunt. This epic history lesson is revealed in the inscriptions of the pyramid that's found under Antarctic ice in Aliens vs. Predators 2004, right before all hell breaks loose. But we'll be getting to that a bit later. According to these hieroglyphs, this hunting ritual came into existence around 2896 BC and established the cycle of battles between predators, humans, and aliens. Over centuries, human settlements were destroyed when predators detonated their self-destruct devices to contain xenomorph outbreaks. The remains of these events became lost to history, known only through myth. 841 AD. Age of Vikings. Predator Killer of Killers, 2025, introduces a Viking clan led by a fearsome shield maiden named Ursa. Ursa invades a rival tribe's land to avenge her father's death. After slaying her enemies, Ursa's warriors suddenly find themselves hunted by an unseen assailant. A predator has arrived amid the carnage and begins picking the Vikings off one by one. Ursa and her son Anders battle the cloaked alien. In a brutal confrontation, Ursa manages to kill the predator with a mix of ferocity and combat skill. Ursa survives as the lone witness to this grim encounter between Viking steel and advanced extraterrestrial technology. The timeline of the universe now jumps forward within the same film, taking us to feudal Japan. 1609 AD, feudal Japan. Killer of Killers' second story takes place in 1609 and introduces two samurai brothers, Kenji and Kiyoshi. These brothers duel to determine who should be their clan's heir. Kiyoshi wins, and Kenji then spends 20 years as a rogue ninja, shinobi, honing his skills in order to get even. 1629 AD. 20 years later, Kenji secretly returns, but his vendetta is overshadowed by the arrival of a high-ranked elite predator, stalking the ramparts of Kiyoshi's castle. Facing this common foe, Kenji and Kiyoshi reunite in battle. The samurai siblings fight side by side, matching blades and wits against the cloaked hunter. After the predator's stunning defeat, the Yautja's silence lingered for nearly a century until the 18th century approached. 1719, Northern America. The 18th century was among planet Earth's most brutal, war-torn eras. Against this backdrop, the Yautja saw a chance to once again test their fighting skills against mankind. Enter 2022's Prey and its feral predator. A young Comanche named Naru watches a predator ship descend and sees her chance to prove herself. A predator, equipped with more rudimentary gear than in later eras, hunts across the plains, killing a viper, a wolf, and, memorably, a grizzly that puts up one hell of a fight. Naru encounters French fur trappers, who are also tracking the creature. They capture her and use her as bait, but the plan collapses as the predator, cloaked and lethal, massacres the voyageurs. Amid the chaos, Naru frees herself and her dog. The wounded trapper, Rafael Adolini, gives her a Spanish-made flintlock engraved Rafael Adolini 1715, later seen again in Los Angeles in 1997, as well as in 2025's Killer of Killers, introduced differently in the comics. The predator finishes Rafael and kills Naru's brother Tabe, leaving her to face the hunter alone. She is outmuscled and outgunned, but not outwitted. Under cover of darkness, Naru lures the predator into a trap, using a surviving trapper as bait. She shoots its biomask off before using its targeting system to target the predator. When he tries to shoot her, his own projectile is redirected into his head. Naru delivers the final blow, then returns to her village with the severed head and flintlock, proof of her kill and her rite of passage. Her tribe honors her as war chief for defeating the monster from the skies. 1904, Antarctica. Now we return to Aliens vs. Predator 2004. Nearly 2 centuries after the North American showdown, a remote Antarctic whaling settlement named Razorback Point receives a visit from our extraterrestrial friends. As seen in an extended cut and novelization lore, the Predators return to Earth for a coming-of-age trial, only to crash land into the ice. Investigating the disturbance, whalers stumble upon a xenomorph hive. They also wake a lone, hibernating predator who immediately attacks the whalers. Meanwhile, xenomorph creatures, spawned by facehuggers released from the pod, infest the camp. Caught in a battle between predator and aliens, the entire settlement is wiped out and hastily abandoned by morning, and Razorback Point becomes an icy ghost town. This forgotten tragedy set the stage for the events a century later, the ancient predator pyramid lying dormant under the ice until its next ritual. 1942, World War II. During the most lethal war in human history, the Yautja had no trouble finding worthy opponents to meet their requirements. While most duels in the franchise occur hand-to-hand, predators are happy to engage in the occasional dogfight, and that's what we see in the 3rd chapter of Predator Killer of Killers. Amid the chaos of World War II's air war, fighter pilot Lieutenant John Torres encounters an enemy far beyond the Axis powers. While flying a Grumman Wildcat, Torres witnesses a mysterious aircraft attacking Allied and Axis planes alike. This is a predator in a highly advanced fighter ship, treating the war zone as a hunting ground. Only Torres and his commander Vandy survive the initial onslaught. Determined to fight back, Torres scrambles into a damaged fighter plane and takes off to challenge the predator. Captain Vandy distracts the alien pilot, sacrificing himself so Torres can get an opening. In a daring aerial duel, Torres uses his wits to outmaneuver the predator's ship. He tricks the predator into targeting its own hull, causing the alien craft to fatally damage itself, defeating and killing the predator. 1987, The Jungle, Central America. The iconic film that introduced the predator in all its might and gave us the iconic "Get to the Choppa." The year is 1987. A U.S. military rescue team led by Major Alan Dutch Schaefer, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is dispatched on a covert mission amid a guerrilla war. Dropped into dense jungle, Dutch's squad finds a downed helicopter and the skinned corpses of U.S. Special Forces team members, an ominous warning that something horrific is stalking the rainforest. The team soon realizes the mission is a setup. CIA operative Dylan, Dutch's old comrade, admits he used the team to eliminate the guerrilla warriors under false pretenses. With the firefight over, the American soldiers become the next targets for the jungle hunter predator. This predator is of the blooded rank and part of the jungle clan, which releases him to engage in this hunt. One by one, Dutch's highly trained men are eliminated. Dutch orders their hostage, Anna, to escape unarmed while he draws the predator's attention. The hunter is honor-bound to let her go. Their code forbids them from engaging or killing any creature that does not possess a threat. This key realization by Dutch saves her life. As night falls, he camouflages himself in mud, obscuring his body heat from the predator's thermal vision, before setting a series of primitive traps from logs, spikes, and explosives. The hunter, eager for a worthy fight, then removes its mask and plasma caster, revealing its grotesque, mandible-lined face, and engages Dutch in brutal hand-to-hand combat, but not before giving the iconic line, which is something he will call you if you don't leave a like. Dutch is outmatched by the Predator's sheer size and strength, beaten and nearly defeated, but he tricks the alien into pursuing him through the trap-laden zone. In a last move, he triggers a weighted log trap that crushes the Predator, critically wounding it. As the dying creature wheezes, it laughs mockingly and activates a wrist-mounted self-destruct device. A final attempt to take Dutch down. Dutch flees as a massive explosion erupts. At dawn, Dutch is rescued by helicopter, leaving behind a smoking crater. The government's knowledge of this encounter marks the start of their efforts to get their hands on one of these intergalactic killing machines. 1997, Los Angeles. 10 years after Dutch's encounter, predators return to Earth, this time to the sweltering urban jungle of Los Angeles in the 1990 sequel, Predator 2. Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, played by Danny Glover, finds himself in the middle of a brewing nightmare, a threat that is far greater than the gang and drug wars tearing LA apart. He and his detectives encounter Peter Keyes, a federal agent heading a task force supposedly investigating the cartels. In truth, Keyes' team are predator hunters who have detected an alien presence in the city. Keyes hints at an incident in 1987 in Central America, where only 2 survivors made it out. When Keyes' team, clad in thermal cloaking suits and armed with cryogenic weapons, attempt to trap the predator in the slaughterhouse, Harrigan interferes, unwilling to stay on the sidelines. The plan fails spectacularly, the young-blood predator, seeing through the team's tactics by switching its vision to see their torchlight heat, attacks. It mauls Keyes' men. Keyes himself is killed by a cutting smart disc despite trying to freeze the creature. Harrigan confronts the predator with everything he's got, a shotgun, then the fallen smart disc. He even manages to shoot off the predator's biomask, impairing its vision. The chase goes onto a rooftop in the pouring rain. Harrigan wounds the alien and it attempts to escape by activating a medical kit and fleeing. Relentless, Harrigan follows the predator to its refuge, which turns out to be a cloaked spaceship hidden beneath an old building. Inside the Predator's ship, Harrigan discovers a trophy room containing skulls of many species, including a human skull and the distinctive elongated skull of a Xenomorph. The injured city hunter attacks, and the final duel erupts within the spacecraft. Harrigan uses the Predator's own bladed smart disc in close combat, ultimately bisecting the alien's abdomen and killing it. The city hunter's entire clan uncloaks. They'd been watching all along. They retrieve their fallen comrade's body. An exhausted Harrigan awaits his inevitable death, but instead, the Predator Elder, Greyback, steps forward, honoring Harrigan's victory with a gift, an antique flintlock pistol engraved with Raphael Adolini 1715. This is the same pistol Nadu had in 1719, hinting at an epic off-screen journey between hunts. Interestingly, Greyback actually dueled Adolini in the comics. Having emerged victorious, he held onto the weapon and waited for a warrior worthy of it. The Predators activate their ship's autopilot and vanish, leaving Harrigan alive amidst the alien technology and the trophy of an old pistol. The next time we see Predators, we'll have to go back to the Antarctic. 2004, Antarctica. A century after the 1904 whaling station incident, the dormant predator pyramid beneath Bouvet Island awakens, detected as a heat bloom under the ice by Weyland Industries satellite PS-12. Alexa Lex Woods, a seasoned guide along with scientists, armed mercenaries, and archaeologists, travels to the abandoned whaling station on the island. Unbeknownst to them, they are walking into a timeless battleground. From orbit, a Predator mothership deploys 3 young Predator warriors for an initiation hunt: Scar, Celtic, and Chopper. Now, with all lore and events leading up to this point in the timeline, we get to see 2004's Alien vs. Predator. Chaos erupts in the labyrinthine underground pyramid. After facehuggers attack the Weyland expedition, Xenomorphs burst from the infected humans and mature rapidly into deadly adult aliens. Caught in the extraterrestrial crossfire, the humans are no match for either faction. 2 of the Predators, Celtic and Chopper, are ambushed and killed early by a particularly cunning xenomorph dubbed Grid. Nearly all humans are killed, leaving Lex as the only survivor. She decides her only shot at survival is to help Scar complete the hunt. Otherwise, if the aliens win, the Predators will activate a self-destruct that could wipe out everyone. They form an unlikely alliance. The entire pyramid becomes overrun with xenomorphs, but Lex and Scar make it out thanks to Scar's wrist bomb, which is deployed to blow up the pyramid and all remaining aliens and eggs. But the alien queen survives, pursuing Lex and Scar above ground, bursting out of the ice. In a fierce climactic battle, Lex and Scar fight side by side against the queen. They manage to topple the queen by chaining her to an ancient water tower tank and pushing it over a cliff. The queen plunges into the frigid ocean. The victory costs Scar dearly. He is mortally wounded by the queen's tail in the struggle. The alien queen sinks to an icy tomb on the seafloor, and Lex finds Scar collapsed from his injuries. Aboard the Predator ship, a new terror is about to be born. Scar's body, lying in state, contains an embryo implanted by a facehugger in the pyramid, setting the stage for the next battle. 2004, Colorado, USA. 2007's Alien vs. Predator Requiem is a continuation of the events in AVP. The Predator scout ship carrying Scar's body and other alien specimens crash lands in rural Colorado near the small town of Gunnison. The Pred alien newborn and several facehugger pods are now loose on Earth. All Predators on board were killed in the crash except for one. He manages to send a distress signal before being slain by the rapidly growing Pred alien. The Pred alien matures into a queen-like creature, capable of implanting embryos directly into hosts. In a matter of hours, a full-scale Xenomorph infestation takes root. Receiving the distress call on Yautja Prime is an elite Predator named Wolf. Wolf arrives on Earth, tasked with removing all traces of his people from the scene. Wolf then hunts the aliens across town. In a sewer, he kills several Xenomorphs. A National Guard unit responding to the disturbance is ambushed and wiped out by aliens. As conditions deteriorate, Sheriff Morales coordinates with the National Guard in an effort to evacuate the entire town. Wolf battles through more Xenomorph drones in the hospital, displaying incredible close combat prowess until finally confronting the Pred alien. They engage in vicious hand-to-hand combat, tearing into each other while humans scramble to get to the chopper. Arnie would have been proud. Wolf manages to fatally stab the Pred alien through the head with his wrist blades, just as the Pred alien impales him with its inner jaw and tail. A mutual kill. If Wolf didn't drop his gear to fight hand-to-hand, do you think he would have won? Leave a comment down below and we'll check it out. A hovering military jet, commonly cited as a F-22 Raptor, locks onto the town center and drops a tactical nuclear bomb on Gunnison. The blast incinerates the entire town, vaporizing every alien, predator, and unfortunate civilian who failed to follow evacuation orders. 2010, The Game Reserve Planet. Predators takes place in 2010 and it ups the ante significantly in terms of Yautja brutality. This time, our key characters find themselves up against 3 superior predators in an alien environment. Adrian Brody, Walton Goggins, and other mercenaries fall out of the sky and into a jungle on what's known as the Game Reserve Planet. The group is stalked by a pack of extraterrestrial hounds. After surviving that attack, they come upon a predator camp where they see a classic predator tied to a cross, courtesy of a new, more powerful breed of predator. 3 of these attack the human group: Tracker, Falconer, and the ruthless Berserker. All are super predators, sometimes called Super Yautja or Black Clan Yautja. They are said to be disgraced Yautja as they do not follow the honor code, using dubious tactics in pursuit of their prey. The humans get a temporary reprieve courtesy of Nolan, an American air cavalry soldier played by Lawrence Fishburne, who has survived multiple hunting seasons on the planet. But he succumbs to Tracker, and in the ensuing battle, one of the mercs, Nikolai, sacrifices himself to kill Tracker. Hanzo duels the Falconer Predator in an open field with a katana he recovered, an epic samurai-style duel that claims the lives of both combatants. This leaves only the Berserker, the last but also the deadliest. Royce frees the crucified Predator, who then engages Berserker in a ferocious duel, using everything in their inventory from their cloaking equipment to the wrist blades. It ends with the beheading of the crucified after Berserker removes his helmet, revealing his unique look compared to the traditional Yautja. The humans then manage to maim the Berserker Predator in a grenade-laden trap, before Royce confronts him in a brutal showdown. Using the classic strategy of caked mud to hide his body heat from Predator vision, the wounded Isabel provides sniper cover and Royce removes Berserker's head using Yautja weaponry. Royce and Isabel have survived the game but are still stuck on the Predator planet. As dawn breaks, they witness new parachutes opening in the distant sky. The hunt will begin again. But for now, let's head back to Earth. 2018, Mexico and USA. A Predator ship crashes on Earth. Sniper Quinn McKenna briefly subdues the occupant and obtains some of his gear, mailing it off before Project Stargazer, led by Will Traeger, detains both him and the injured fugitive Predator. The fugitive escapes the lab, killing armed personnel but sparing unarmed biologist Dr. Casey Brackett, and sets off to recover its confiscated tech. It's effectively a defector bringing something to aid humanity against larger gene-enhanced predators, a motive the film implies rather than states outright. Meanwhile, Quinn's son Rory inadvertently activates the predator gear conveniently in time for Halloween. Less conveniently, a second, much larger genetically augmented predator arrives, kills the fugitive, and seeks the same cargo. Traeger seizes Quinn's squad, the Loonies, and abducts Rory, hoping to utilize his knack for predator tech. At the crash site, the larger predator slaughters soldiers. Traeger tries a predator weapon and accidentally blows off his own head. The Predator launches its ship with Rory aboard. Quinn's team jumps onto the hull during liftoff, and Nebraska sacrifices himself by diving into an engine, forcing a crash. On the ground, Quinn, Brackett, and Rory work together, using Predator weaponry to kill the augmented hunter. In the aftermath, a recovered pod from the first Predator's ship is opened in a lab. It contains an advanced exosuit, the Predator Killer, a gift intended to help humans confront future Predator threats on more equal terms. Quinn signals he'll be the one to wear it. 2023 to 2055 AD, glimpses of the 21st century. There isn't much shown on screen in the franchise from the first half of the 21st century, but there are a couple of moments worth looking into. The first came as a promotional video for Prometheus before its launch, named The Peter Weyland Files. In it, we meet a young Peter Weyland. From a stadium-sized stage in 2023, Weyland lays out the creed that will define the century: androids indistinguishable from humans, terraforming on the horizon, and the hubristic promise, "If you'll indulge me, I'd like to change the world." By this point, Weyland Corp is said to have cured most cancers using engineered cells, and by 2025, they created the first android, called David 1. In 2034, Weyland scientists mastered faster-than-light travel, launching the first FTL-capable ship, the Heliades. Around 3 decades after the TED Talk, a brief flashback in alien Earth lands us on a quiet beach around 2055, where Kumi Maro is sharing a tender moment with his daughter on the eve of a 65-year Maginot contract that will pull him into cryosleep and years in, steal her from him. It's a fleeting moment, but it gives a snapshot of Earth not previously seen. We have to fast forward around 35 years now. 2089 to 2094 AD. Peter Weyland's vision and the Prometheus expedition. Prometheus. Weyland Corp's existence sparked enormous advancements in technology, from cybernetics to terraforming and space travel. By 2089, archaeologists Elizabeth Shaw and Charles Holloway had discovered ancient star maps pointing to a specific distant moon. Sensing a monumental discovery, the aging Peter Weyland bankrolls an expedition to find our alien engineer creators. In 2093, the spaceship USCSS Prometheus arrives at LV-223, a moon containing an engineer outpost. The crew, including Weyland, Shaw, Holloway, and android David 8, enters an engineer complex of urns. They unwittingly unleash a deadly pathogen, a bioweapon the engineers created. This mutagenic black goo horrifically transforms living beings. One crew member mutates into a murderous creature. Holloway is infected by David and impregnates Shaw with the alien mutagen. Growing rapidly inside her, Shaw surgically removes it before it can kill her in a spectacularly horrifying scene. The awakened engineer pilot, enraged by the humans, attempts to launch a spacecraft carrying this bioweapon to Earth. The Prometheus's captain sacrifices the ship to crash into the alien craft, averting humanity's destruction. The engineer survivor then attacks Shaw, only to be subdued by the monstrous proto-alien born from Shaw's organism, nicknamed the Trilobite. By 2094, the Prometheus crew is virtually wiped out. Only Dr. Shaw and the android David, or rather David's severed but functional head, survive. Desperate for answers, Shaw and David leave LV-223 aboard an engineer ship, setting course to find the engineer's homeworld and learn why they created and wanted to destroy humanity. 2104 AD. David's experiments and the birth of the Xenomorph, Alien Covenant. Around 10 years later, in 2104, the USCSS Covenant is en route to Origay 6 when it is forced into an unscheduled diversion. The crew arrives at a planet, called Planet 4, hosting a ruined engineer city. This is the same world that Dr. Shaw and David reached following the events of Prometheus. There, the crew of the Covenant finds David, who has spent the past decade engaging in gruesome experiments. After arriving, David exterminated the engineers on that planet by unleashing the black goo pathogen. He then used Dr. Shaw in his experiments, tragically killing her, all driven by his twisted quest to create the perfect organism. Now the Covenant crew becomes fodder for David's work. Parasitic creatures called neomorphs, born from the planet's spore pods, stalk the crew. David, devoid of empathy, sees the humans as test subjects. He breeds a new monster using the alien pathogen and local fauna, effectively engineering the first true xenomorph as we know it. One Covenant crew member, Captain Oram, is tricked into becoming host to a facehugger. A prototypical xenomorph bursts from his chest, the first of the species chronologically in its classic form. This protomorph creature and a second xenomorph later terrorized the remaining crew. Daniels Branson and pilot Tennessee fight desperately to survive the nightmare that David created. They manage to kill the adult xenomorph, but in a sinister twist, David himself secretly hijacks the Covenant. Posing as his identical brother android Walter, David smuggles 2 xenomorph embryos aboard the ship. The Covenant, with thousands of colonists in cryosleep and David in control, resumes course for Origay 6. David has effectively become the proud father of the xenomorph species, carrying his deadly creation toward humanity's future colonies. 2105 to 2120 AD, Weyland Yutani and the Race for Immortality, off-screen. Following the 2099 merger that created the British-Japanese giant Weyland Yutani, the company consolidates Weyland's space assets and Yutani's intelligence/defense portfolio into a single colonial machine, owning shipyards, synthetics lines, and stakes in extrasolar settlement programs. By 2104, it's already fielding colony megaprojects like the USCSS Covenant, while Hideo and Jenny Yutani fend off pre-launch sabotage on Earth. In the 2110s, Weyland Yutani's focus drifts from mere better worlds marketing to corporate transcendence, perfectible synthetics, cheap rival androids for the mass market, and by 2120, an explicit immortality race across the 5 megacorps: synths, cyborgs, and hybrids. The result is a stratified android economy, and a neat fix for the continuity oddity. David-class androids have existed for decades, but the race is now about rights, replication at scale, and outliving the human body, not inventing androids from scratch. 2120 AD. The Prodigy City Incident, Alien Earth. 2 years before Ellen Ripley's fateful encounter on the Nostromo, sees a dramatic new sequence of events unfolding on Earth. According to the FX television series Alien Earth, Weyland Yutani's secret pursuit of alien life finally bears fruit with dire consequences. By 2120, Earth is carved up between 5 megacorporations, Weyland Yutani among them. One rival, the upstart Prodigy Corporation, is run by a young genius bent on cheating death, Boy Cavalier. Cavalier is developing human-android hybrids by taking the minds and memories of terminally ill human children and transferring them into durable synthetic bodies. The first hybrid, a girl named Wendy, is hailed as a breakthrough for immortality. But elsewhere, Weyland Yutani hasn't forgotten the Xenomorph. In this series, the company is well aware of the alien's existence by 2120 and is actively trying to retrieve a specimen. Weyland Yutani had sent a space research vessel, the USCSS Maginot, to capture alien species, including the infamous H.R. Geiger-designed Xenomorph. On its return journey to Earth, disaster strikes. With a menagerie of alien creatures in its hold, the Maginot crash lands into Prodigy's territory, Prodigy City, unleashing those terrifying life forms on an unsuspecting Earth. In the chaos, hybrid child Wendy and her band of fellow hybrids find themselves face-to-face with xenomorphs, along with a cyborg who will stop at nothing to recover Weyland Yutani's precious cargo. The Alien Earth storyline adds major complications to the original film continuity. It depicts the xenomorph not only being known to Weyland Yutani, but actually existing on Earth before 2122, something that was never mentioned in the previous canon. In the 1979 film, the Nostromo crew and officers on Earth were wholly unfamiliar with the alien, and the company's secret Special Order 937 more likely implied they had only just learned of a specimen to acquire. Because of these lore conflicts, Alien Earth's status within the canon is a hot topic among fans. How exactly Alien Earth fits within the official canon remains to be seen. Either way, the series explores fascinating ideas, corporate rivalries, transhuman hybrids, and an Earth already bracing for alien contact. It's a bold reimagining of 2120, but can showrunner Noah Hawley get us from Neverland to the Nostromo? And how many loose ends will he be able to tie up along the way? Let us know what you think in the comments. 2122 AD, the USCSS Nostromo and the distress signal. Alien. Until now, humanity's first on-screen encounter with the XX-121 Xenomorph occurs in 2122. The commercial towing starship USCSS Nostromo, owned by Weyland Yutani, is hauling ore back to Earth. The crew of 7, including Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley, is awakened from cryosleep mid-voyage when the ship's computer Mother detects a mysterious signal from LV-426, a desolate moon. Under company orders, they land on LV-426 to investigate. There, the crew discovers an ancient derelict alien ship and in it a chamber full of strange eggs. Executive Officer Kane is attacked by a spider-like facehugger that emerges from an egg. Back on the Nostromo, the creature detaches and dies, and Kane seemingly recovers, until a small alien bursts violently from his chest during dinner. This infant xenomorph grows with terrifying speed and begins stalking the crew one by one. The Nostromo crew, unarmed and unprepared, are picked off in horrific fashion. Then, the android Ash reveals a secret. He has a special directive to secure the creature at all costs, with the crew being expendable. Weyland Yutani, perhaps alerted by David's earlier transmission or the LV-426 beacon, wants the alien for its bioweapons division. The remaining crew fight for survival against the formidable Xenomorph, which hides in the shadows of the ship. Ultimately, Ripley proves to be the last survivor. Ripley decides to self-destruct the Nostromo to kill the alien. In a tense escape, she narrowly reaches the shuttle Narcissus. The Xenomorph sneaks aboard, but Ripley blows it out of the airlock, finally killing the beast. Ripley, exhausted but alive, places herself and Jones, the ship's cat, into cryosleep, drifting alone through space in the Narcissus and hoping someone will find her. The year is 2122, and the nightmare seems over, for now. Worth noting here, decades later, a director's cut of Alien revealed the creature had cocooned some crew as hosts, implying Weyland Yutani later recovered a cocoon from the Nostromo's wreckage. This detail sets up events in Alien Romulus down the line. 2137 AD, Amanda Ripley's ordeal, Alien Isolation. Away from the main films, the alien menace resurfaces in Alien Isolation, set in 2137. Amanda Ripley, Ellen's daughter, searches for her missing mother and travels to Sevastopol Station after its crew recovers the Nostromo's flight recorder. Unknown to her, they also bring aboard an egg from LV-426. The resulting outbreak is a grim echo of the Nostromo disaster. A Xenomorph stalks the station, slaughtering its inhabitants. Amanda and a handful of survivors fight to contain it, while Weyland Yutani agents arrive, eager to claim the creature. The crisis spirals out of control. In the end, Amanda flushes the Xenomorph into space as Sevastopol falls from orbit, another tragedy erased from the record, but proof of the company's growing obsession. 2142 AD, the Renaissance Hive awakes, Alien Romulus. Ripley's shuttle drifts through space for decades, but the universe doesn't stay idle. In 2142, precisely 20 years after the original Alien, 2122, and 37 years before Aliens, 2179, the film Alien Romulus unfolds a one-day nightmare aboard a derelict Weyland Yutani research station named Renaissance, split into the modules Romulus and Remus. While Ripley's long cold sleep continues, a group of 6 desperate young colonists, leader Rain Carradine, her adoptive android brother Andy, Tyler, Kay, Bjorn, and Bjorn's adopted sister Navarro are fleeing a mining colony where Rain's contract has been unjustly extended. They hijack the hauler Corbalin 4 and head for the station, hoping to steal cryostasis equipment and flee to planet Ivaga 3, where androids aren't allowed. Inside the Renaissance, chaos erupts when Tyler and Bjorn inadvertently release facehugger parasites, triggering a lockdown. Navarro becomes impregnated by one. With help from a damaged science officer android named Rook, designed to resemble Ash from Alien, Rain reprograms Andy for access, but this backfires when this firmware update shifts his loyalty to the company. Rook reveals the grim truth. Weyland Yutani recovered the Xenomorph from the Nostromo and attempted to reverse engineer the parasites before the alien escaped and slaughtered the station crew. Navarro's chestburster kills her and unleashes a Xenomorph on board. As the group fights for survival, they face relentless alien threats, while Kay, badly injured, injects herself with Z01, a gene-rewriting fluid that Weyland Yutani scientists harvested from facehuggers, granting rapid healing. Andy eventually returns to Rain's side after she restores his original programming. In the escape's final, horrifying twist, Kay gives birth to a human Xenomorph hybrid, the Offspring, a creature born from Z01's mutagenic properties and Kay's pregnancy. The Offspring violently kills Kay, and Rain ejects it into space where it disintegrates near the planet's rings. Rain and Andy then enter cryosleep aboard the Corbalin 4, heading off toward Ivaga 3. The Romulus incident shows that Weyland Yutani's pursuit of the Xenomorph continued relentlessly after 2122, setting the stage for even bigger catastrophes to come. It fills in a gap between the original films while honoring the established canon. The director Fede Alvarez stuck as close as possible to the film lore. 2179 AD, The Nightmare at Hadley's Hope, Aliens. In 2179, 57 years after the Nostromo incident, Ellen Ripley is found and revived. A deep space salvage team discovers the Narcissus and brings Ripley back to Gateway Station, in Earth's orbit. Ripley wakes to learn she has been in hypersleep for decades. While she was asleep, her daughter Amanda died of old age. Ripley's story, of an alien that wiped out the Nostromo crew, falls on deaf ears. Worse, during her absence, Weyland Yutani established a terraforming colony on LV-426, the planetoid now known as Hadley's Hope. For 20 years, the colony thrived until contact was suddenly lost. Ripley is horrified. She realizes the colonists may have met the same fate as her crew on the Nostromo. Hoping to avert another nightmare and clear her name, Ripley joins a team of colonial marines dispatched to investigate Hadley's Hope on the USCSS Sulaco. When the Marines arrive on LV-426, they find the colony seemingly abandoned, showing signs of battle. Soon they discover the horrifying truth. The colonists discovered the derelict ship and its eggs, and a horde of xenomorphs overran the colony. Ripley, the Marines, and the only surviving colonist, a young girl, Newt, are now stranded in a war against dozens of aliens. In the ensuing conflict, the majority of the Marines are systematically ambushed and slaughtered by the xenomorph swarm. Ripley takes command of the dwindling survivors, displaying a courage and resolve that's befitting of science fiction's most celebrated survivor. She rescues Newt from the alien's nest and comes face to face with the enormous alien queen. Ripley, Newt, an injured Corporal Hicks, and the android Bishop escape just as the colony's atmosphere processor explodes in a nuclear blast, wiping out the xenomorph hive. But then, in the final iconic battle, Ripley fights the Queen using a power loader exosuit, ultimately expelling the Queen out the airlock of the Sulaco. Exhausted from the ordeal, Ripley and her small surrogate family enter cryosleep for the long journey home. For a moment, it seems Ripley has finally defeated the alien threat on LV-426, winning a hard-fought victory. But Ripley's nightmare wasn't over. 2179 AD, the Fury 161 massacre, Alien 3. The very same year, misfortune strikes again. During the Sulaco's return voyage, a hidden alien egg, likely laid by the Queen from aliens on board the Sulaco in a cruel twist of fate, hatches. The emerging facehugger likely causes a fire on the ship, forcing Ripley, Newt, Hicks, and what remains of Bishop to be jettisoned aboard an emergency escape ship. The survivors' pod crash lands on Fiorina Fury 161, a bleak prison planet. Ripley is the only one to survive the crash. Newt and Hicks perish, leaving Ripley utterly alone and grief-stricken. Unbeknownst to her at first, a facehugger also made it to the planet, infecting a local life form, a dog or ox, depending on the version of the film you see. Ripley finds herself in a grim prison facility inhabited by hard-bitten male inmates with no weapons, and a familiar nightmare prowling in the shadows. A new xenomorph, born from an animal host, soon emerges and begins killing prisoners at terrifying speed. This creature, often called the dragon or runner alien, is fast and vicious. Ripley teams up with the inmates to improvise traps and fight back, but one by one, the men are slaughtered. As they battle the alien, Ripley makes a horrifying discovery. She herself is carrying a xenomorph embryo. In fact, a developing queen, implanted by the facehugger from the Sulaco. This is a death sentence, and Ripley knows it. Weyland Yutani troops, and their own android, arrive, ostensibly to rescue Ripley, but in truth the company wants the alien queen inside her for their bioweapons program. In a final act of defiance, Ripley sacrifices herself. In the refinery's molten metal pit, Ripley throws herself in just as the infant queen chestburster begins to emerge from her chest, ensuring both she and the embryonic queen are destroyed together. As Ripley is engulfed in fire, the last xenomorph on Fury 161 is also killed. Ellen Ripley's long war comes to an end in 2179, as she gives her own life to prevent the company from obtaining the ultimate alien prize. The future, Planet Genna. Predator Badlands sits at the far end of the saga's chronology. No official in-universe year has been announced as of now, but signs point to it being the first film in the Predator or AVP franchises to take place in the future. Set on a hostile off-world where a young outcast Yautja, Dek, forges an uneasy alliance with Thea, a Weyland Yutani synthetic, with her twin synth Tessa looming as a foil. The Weyland Yutani detail alone pushes the setting beyond the corporation's 22nd century rise in alien canon. We expect a survival chapter that flips series grammar. Dek's rite of passage is sabotaged, his clan's honor code strained, and Thea, damaged but calculating, maps the planet's kill zones while their bond evolves from pragmatic partnership into taboo trust. Stylistically, this entry reads like a frontier western by way of alien tech, sun-blasted Badlands, ritual steel against composite alloys, and improvised traps that echo Dutch and Nauru but at planetary scale. The perfecting of the Weyland Yutani synthetics indicates that the movie could even take place as much as 3 centuries after the company's creation. Possibly even after Ellen Ripley's death in Alien 3, but until Badlands finally drops, all we can do is guess. 2379 AD, Ripley's return. Alien resurrection. 2 centuries pass. It is now 2379, but humanity hasn't forgotten the Xenomorph, or Ellen Ripley. In this era, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is defunct. The United Systems Military, USM, is the organization now, and the obsession with weaponizing the alien lives on. Scientists aboard the research vessel USM Auriga use blood samples from Fury 161 to clone Ripley, attempting to retrieve the embedded queen embryo from her DNA. After 7 failed clones, their 8th attempt finally succeeds. Ripley 8 is born, complete with an immature queen alien inside her. The scientists extract the queen embryo and it survives, growing into an adult queen xenomorph. They also keep Ripley 8 alive, but Ripley 8 is no ordinary human. The gene splicing caused by cloning a host with its parasite has made Ripley 8 a human-alien hybrid. She possesses enhanced strength, acidic blood, and a psychic link to the xenomorph species. Meanwhile, the scientists proceed to breed aliens from the Queen on board, using captive human hosts kidnapped by mercenaries. Of course, containment fails. The xenomorphs escape, overrunning the Auriga. Ripley 8 finds herself among a motley crew of mercenaries plus android Call, fighting through swarms of xenomorphs to escape the doomed ship. During the chaos, the cloned queen develops an unexpected mutation, a result of sharing DNA with Ripley. Instead of the usual egg-laying, the queen gives live birth to a grotesque hybrid offspring, the newborn. This pale, human xenomorph mutant sees Ripley 8 as its mother and the queen as a rival. This results in it violently killing the queen. The newborn then turns on Ripley's group. In a disturbingly emotional confrontation, Ripley 8 uses her connection to lure the newborn into the Betty's Bay and manages to eject the creature through an acid-melted hole in a viewing window, watching as her child is torn apart in the vacuum of space. Ripley 8 and the surviving mercenaries flee in the Betty transport ship, while the Auriga crashes into Earth. In the film's extended version, Ripley finally returns to Earth, now a very different planet after centuries of overpopulation and environmental degradation, wondering whether a cloned, part-alien woman will be welcome in the world she died to save. Of course, in true horror fashion, open questions remain. The military had multiple Ripley clones. Who knows what other experiments continued in secret? Is alien resurrection truly the end of the road for the perfect organism? Let us know what you think in the comments. That's it for our comprehensive chronology of the Alien and Predator universes. It's a saga of creation, destruction, terror, and survival, spanning galaxies and millennia. And if you just can't get enough, don't forget to like and subscribe.